Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. I welcome in my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and all-around sports guru, Jack Hirsch. How are you this morning, Jack?
I am good, Keith. Raring to go.
Raring to go. We got a lot of news to talk about. We got a little baseball, football, even some basketball. And no shortage of news like every single week, it seems like, in the world of sports, especially the NFL. But we're going to start real quick with the WBC. USA finds a way to move forward despite the fact that their manager didn't appear to know what the rules were. And no matter what he says to me, there's a lot of evidence that says he didn't know. Not just what he said, but the lineup he rolled out, the pitch, the way he used the pitching during that game. There's no way Mark DeRosa knew what the hell was going on. He thought he was already in the knockout round. Do you disagree?
I agree. But if I were him, would I admit it or
Yes.
what? Because it's completely inexcusable, And it shows a lack of preparation. In any event, he came off looking terrible with the lineup he put out there. If he thought those were the rules, he wasn't doing the job the way he was supposed to. But look, if the USA could salvage things, win this tournament, he could say later, I really messed up in that one thing.
But
he
he
could
should
maybe
now.
confess at that point, and people give him a pass and say, look, just don't do it again.
I'd be more likely to give him a pass now if he just came clean and said, geez, I really blew it. I mean, that to me, that's what people do, right? You fess up to your mistakes and you say, I'll do better. Because this looks really bad. Every time he opens his mouth, it seems to get worse.
Well, I have a detective friend of mine who would tell me about cases where people would deny things that were obvious. He'd tell me the second lie always was the one that was the biggest trouble. If they just come clean immediately, there's a way to move on from things or lessen the impact of what happened. But by keeping it going, it makes it worse and worse. You know, in baseball, we saw that with Pete Rose with the gambling. And Pete Rose just said in the beginning, look, I did something I shouldn't have done. I regret it. He wasn't going to get suspended for life. Bart Giamatti was maybe going to suspend him for 2 years. And Bart Giamatti at that time might not have even suspended him. He may have sent him to counseling, and he may have used him to speak to other teams about gambling. Or Pete Rose just could have stepped aside, like I said, for a couple of years, and then he would have been reinstated back into baseball. He probably would have managed somewhere, been in a high capacity, but he kept lying about it, lying. And who are you fooling? But listen, what Mark De La Rosa did wasn't nearly as bad as Pete Rose. He messed up.
He made a mistake.
But by not coming clean with this, do we believe him? I mean, is there some doubt whether he's telling the truth? There actually is. If I had to bet, I'd say the odds are 2-1 that he's lying. That it's not clear. It's not clear cut. But I'm going to tell you this, Keith, and I'm going to sum it up. Regardless, if he is telling the truth, that's an awful managing job.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's guilty either way, right? And
yeah,
so what he did, the cover up is often worse than the crime, and the cover up here is just ridiculously bad. His employer, Major League Baseball, scrubbed the interviews. It disappeared from their website once he realized he made a mistake. And I still think managing that game, he didn't realize they weren't moving on when they were coming back, and they were down 8-0 early, so it really got out of hand. Partly. The guys he put in the lineup didn't play horribly for the most part, but still, just putting that lineup out says something. And then the pitching moves, they're starting to try to get back in this game. Italy has the bases loaded. He's warming up Clayton Kershaw in the bullpen with Miller and Bednar sitting there not having pitched. And this is it's not do or die, but for controlling your own destiny, it was do or die. And then he switched out. Then it sat Kershaw down. I'm certain in my mind that somebody told him, we kind of need to win this game.
But sometimes the rules can get a little confusing, but it's their job to know it more than ours. For example, Mexico and Italy. For the United States to advance in the tournament, we were told Mexico has to score 5 or more runs, or Italy has to win the game.
Right.
But during the game, we're told, well, if it goes 9 innings, once Italy has scored 4 runs, as far as I was concerned, the United States automatically had to advance because either Italy was going to win the game with their 4 runs, or if Mexico was going to come back, they'd have to score 5 runs. Are there ties involved?
There was some different rules if they went to extra innings, but I don't even want to get into those.
But that's what I didn't get. So I thought once Italy had gotten up to the 4 runs, it was over. The United States was automatically advancing, and then I hear the commentators say, "Well, if it goes 9 innings," and I'm confused. They're gonna. Why? I didn't get it at that point.
I think they need to fix the rules. By the way, they leave the door open for, again, I'm not saying that teams would do this, but they leave because we have a conspiratorial nature in our world today with social media and everything else. They leave the door open for shenanigans. Like if Italy had won that game, if Mexico had won that game 4-3, well, then they both would have moved on and the USA would have stayed home. So they could have played.
Let's cut to the chase, Keith. With all the teams left in the tournament, how does it look to you?
I think the USA will try to. Well, I think they will rebound from this gaffe, and they'll. I think they'll get to. It'll be Japan and the US. They'll beat Canada tonight. I'm trying to remember who they'll see in the semifinals. It might be the Dominican or either Dominican or Venezuela. I think it's USA and Japan in the final once we get there.
I'll tell you, but Italy is becoming this Cinderella team with the most part with no-name guys. I mean, a standout for them is Berti, who the Yankees had for a little while, who came over from Miami as a third baseman, came to the Yankees for a little bit too.
Oh, the kid from he played with Kansas City. I'll never be able to say his name. Vinny Pasquantino.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
I think
3 home runs against Mexico in that game, and he's playing very, very well. So Italy's been a great story. Francisco Cervelli, ex-Yankee, managing that team.
Yeah. It would be a great story if Italy won the World Baseball Classic. You think of what it means for the countries. It would mean more to Italy than it would for the USA. It would mean more than it would to Canada. Canada's primarily a hockey nation. Not that it wouldn't mean a lot. It means a lot to the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, etc. Yeah, it would be nice if the USA won it. But if you compare this with the players to a player like Aaron Judge, it's kind of important in a way because the Yankees might never win a World Series with Aaron Judge playing. Because it's very hard to win a World Series. There's such competitive balance in Major League Baseball. Yeah, I know the Dodgers on the run, but once the Dodgers run comes to an end, and it might be this year, next year, it's up for grabs with all the teams who wins the World Series. So if the United States won the World Baseball Classic, a player like Aaron Judge could maybe point to that. Well, I was on a championship team, but then again, you look at players like Carmelo Anthony and Charles Barkley in the NBA. They've been on Olympic winning teams, gold medal teams, and they're not thought of as being, champions in the true sense as far as their sport goes.
Yeah, him winning a WC title is not going to overshadow never winning a World Series in any way, shape, or form. That won't happen. By the way, we talked about players coming and going. Skubal had kind of hemmed and hawed. He might come back. He's not coming back. But they also said, I mentioned Kershaw. The U.S. sent him home. He's not even going to be part of this team. He might be there tonight, but that's it. He's going home, and they're bringing Joe Ryan in, who likely and Nolan McLean for the Mets has gone home. He was going to pitch the final.
That is utter nonsense to me, especially in the case of Skubal. It shows you that the World Baseball Classic isn't a priority. It's just not a priority. Major League Baseball should have no say in this. Teams should have absolutely no say in bringing their opponent back. And there should be a rule There should be, at the very least, any player picked for the World Baseball Classic. He doesn't have to play. It's his right not to play, but he cannot report to spring training for his team until the World Baseball Classic is over. Until it's over, he should be kept away. Work out on your own. You have a right not to play if you don't want to, but you shouldn't be allowed to report to your major league team.
From the team's perspective, too, I think they should pick a roster and stick to it. They shouldn't be sending guys home and bringing guys, picking a new guy. Joe Ryan wasn't part of this team from the beginning. Now he's likely to pitch the final if they get there.
And let me tell you, Scooble, too, this is a contract issue because he's going to be a free agent. And they don't want him there working out. Look, guys get hurt. Look, Edwin Diaz got hurt with the World Baseball Classic. Anyone can get hurt anytime. But I just don't like the attitude. I don't like the attitude. That's why we were talking about retired numbers the other day with CC Sabathia, whether he belonged or not, but whether he should have had his number retired by the Yankees, even though we both agreed he shouldn't. To me, CC Sabathia is an absolute legend. He's an absolute rock star for his attitude and his leadership, because when he was a free agent at the end of a season, when he was with the Milwaukee Brewers, he pitched on short rest to help the team. He didn't think of his own situation. Well, I'm going to be a free agent. I got to rest my arm. I got to look out what's best for me. He put the team first ahead of himself. And a guy like Scooble could learn from that. Scooble dogged it as far as I'm concerned. Shame on Scooble. Shame on Scooble.
You can say no and don't go. I'm okay with that. You don't want to go, don't go. But don't go and then say I'm not sticking it out.
Well, he said he intended to pitch one game. He may have told him their intentions in the beginning and they accepted it. But the point is, you have to be committed for the whole process or not. But it just shows you this isn't that important to Scooble. And I'm going to tell you another thing. If the United States wins this tournament and they're given something, I don't know, are they giving rings or they're giving anything, a plaque? I have no idea. That's something I have no idea about. If anyone knows, tell me. A guy like Scooble shouldn't get one, and he shouldn't be acknowledged as being a member of the team. If he was injured and couldn't continue, yes, you want to acknowledge his contribution. Otherwise, he thought that he quit on the guys.
I agree.
Quit his teammates.
To go back to CC for 1 second, I got a little story of my own. I think it was his last season as a Yankee. Maybe it was the second to last. But if you remember, the last day, his last start, he had an innings clause in his contract where he was going to get, I think, $500,000. And maybe that's not a lot to a lot of people, but it's still real money.
It's a lot to anyone.
And they had a little batsman war going on. And CC went out there and he wasn't at his innings. He knew he'd get thrown out if he threw at a Rays guy. And he threw right at him, protecting his teammates. And that shows you the selflessness of a CC Sabathia.
CC Sabathia is the ultimate unselfish player. Now, if CC Sabathia listened to this show, they'd probably be ticked off at me and you for saying his number shouldn't have been retired. Along with a number of them. Posada shouldn't have had his number retired. Bernie Williams shouldn't have. Paul O'Neill shouldn't. So we're not hating on CC Sabathia. But if CC Sabathia hears this somehow, he is the ultimate unselfish player, the 100%. Ultimate leader. He sets the ultimate example for CC Sabathia. He's a hero of mine as far as attitude goes. And if I were a player, I would follow CC Sabathia's leadership.
100%. Two things can be true at the same time, right? He can be all the things we just said about him, the great things, and also
Google has enough power. I don't go for that.
I'm not sure.
Google has enough power. He could say, no, I'm staying with the World Baseball Classic. He could tell the Tigers, he could tell his agent, I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking with these guys. Can I tell you something, Keith?
Sure.
What is the very worst that could happen? Very worst. Scooble gets injured, throws his arm out, can never pitch again. That's highly unlikely, first of all, highly unlikely. But if that happened, isn't Scooble getting like $32 million this year on top of other millions?
It's in the 30s, yes.
the guy has life-altering money like it is. I mean, you're not going to have filthy money where you're just going to throw it away. You're not going to buy an electric blanket like Mike Tyson used to spend 60,000 for an electric blanket or whatever. You know, you're going to live within your means, but those are pretty nice means you'd be able to live through the rest of your life.
Mike Tyson. You know, one year when Mike Tyson was really struggling in his life, he did his tax return. He had an income of $25 on his tax return. What did Mike Tyson do to earn $25? He mowed somebody's lawn or what? What do you do?
I don't know. The favorite's Ralph Cramden. You know, he says to Alice, all that money in one big ball amounts to, she goes, $12.83. He says to his wife, you don't know how to handle money. And she says, how can I? Never have any.
Love the honeymooners.
$12.83.
I did not know this, by the way. Danny says they get $300,000 for qualifying, and the winner gets up to $3 million.
That's a team.
I don't know if that's.
They're not in this for the money. Wait, God. The players aren't in this for the money, but I'm going to tell you, it's a little bit of. It's exciting to them. The World Baseball Classic to a lot of them. It's exciting. The camaraderie is nice. Look, they're keeping in shape. They're getting ready for the regular season. They're just not doing it under the eyes of their coach. A player like Aaron Judge, for example, who I mentioned before, position players, it doesn't affect them. Teams get uptight about the pitchers, their pitch count, their innings. They're babying these guys.
Well, that's what they do. And that's where MLB, to Brian's point, is, the Tigers and the other teams have control over a lot of this because they shouldn't. They shouldn't at all with the pitchers. But by the way, there have been some good stories that come out of this. Bobby Witt, who doesn't get on a national stage at all, lost in Kansas City. He's been tremendous. I didn't realize how good a player Bobby Witt was, quite frankly. I haven't seen him play enough up close.
Bobby Witt was great. Bobby Witt.
I didn't think he was as great. Yet he's playing out there with reckless abandon. The fielding. He made a play in the field the other night. I think it was the game before Italy. That was just one of the best plays I've seen a shortstop make and be able to get up and make the throw.
Tremendous. And let me tell you, too,
even better than
Kansas City Royals handled his contract situation beautifully. 2-3 years ago, they signed him to a long-term deal that was win-win. Bobby Witt would be getting something around $25 million a year, close to that, but long term, for some like 10 years, and it prohibited him from going to free agency. You got to take a chance with some of these players who, if you feel they're really going to be outstanding for years to come, you sign them years away from free agency. The Braves did that with Ronald Acuna. They signed him $100 million for 10 years. That's like a bargain, but at the time, Acuna wasn't quite yet a star.
Right.
He's thinking, worst case scenario, I'm going to have $100 million. I'm going to be set for life. But the Braves got a major discount. I mean, we see it. The Padres did with Fernando Tatis, $24 million a year for like 13 years or so.
How about, by the way, before we move on from baseball, Judge's rookie card yesterday sells for $5.2 million. $5.2 million. What are these guys doing buying these cards? Honus Wagner, that card, one of his cards just went for $5 million. That's always been a famous card. What does Aaron Judge, and I love Aaron Judge, how does Aaron Judge's rookie card go for $5 million? That's quite a speculation.
What are you going to do with it? What sense does it make? Who gives a darn? Who gives a darn?
I'm guessing, and a lot of these guys do this. I wish one of my followers, Matt, out in San Diego, he's a card collector. He knows about this stuff. I think a lot of them buy and they're speculating that they're going to be able to sell it for a lot of money down the road. But how much more than $5 million are you going to get?
When Mark McGwire hit his 70th homer, a guy bought the ball for $3 million. And he said, he has to be a little careful with this purchase. He's a little anxious because he doesn't have that really big money. Even though he bought $3 million, he doesn't have the Steve Cohen money, the Met owners or the other guys, whatever. And how much is that $3 million ball worth now? Because Barry Bonds surpassed stat with 73 homers. So how much can you sell Mark McGwire's 70th home run ball for? Maybe $250,000, and he spent $3 million on it. I'm just guessing the amount you can sell it for.
They're investing
certainly nowhere near $3 million.
They're investing just like you would in stocks. You're hoping that the value goes up, right? And sometimes it doesn't. It goes down or it tanks. Like that's a great example, the McGwire example. Sorry, I got the hiccups. Anyway, let's move on a little bit, and enough baseball for now. But USA and Canada tonight at 8:00. By the way, tune in for that, I believe, on Fox. So I'll be watching that game because the guys who are out there, by the way, are playing hard. If they're here, they're playing hard. I think
they gave the USA another life here. They'll respond. But baseball of all games is iffy. You could totally outplay a team, but you could hit line drive after line drive, long fly ball after long fly ball right at the fielder.
Yep.
And you can get a pitcher who just has the hot hand for that game.
Let's and I agree with that 100%. Anything can happen. We saw
anything can happen in one game. It can happen in any of the major sports. In basketball, it's not likely to happen unless a team's going to shoot 80% and everything is going to fall. And that's very rare. We saw it with Villanova and Georgetown, decades ago in the NCAA final, but that's a little more of an aberration.
Heck, we saw it with Italy in that game against USA because the U.S. should have won that game even with the lineup they rolled out, quite frankly. So that's still an upset. Good for them, though. My wife's Italian, so she's happy, and I don't want to.
Whoa. She's rooting for Italy over the USA? Wait, Keith.
Let me rephrase. She's not rooting for Italy. In fact, she got mad when I suggested she might be.
Oh, okay. Good cover up here. But I'm going to tell you, there was this woman I knew, Brazilian. She's from Brazil.
Yeah.
But she became a United States citizen once she was an adult. So she lived in Brazil a lot. But her kids who were adults at the time, her kids were born in the United States. And when Brazil was playing, this was years ago, a lot of years ago, the United States in the World Cup, she's all excited with her Brazilian flag coming into work. I tell you, how could you be rooting for Brazil? You're a citizen of the USA. Your kids were born in the USA. I don't want to hear your families rooting for Brazil.
I get that.
You have to be rooting for the USA. They're citizens here.
Listen, I'm a nationalist, and I think you should root for your country. But if you have heritage somewhere else, I can understand where you'd have allegiance to them, right? And there's a lot of Latin American people here who I know are rooting for Venezuela or Dominican or Puerto Rico and Canada, quite frankly. So I get it. I'm not going to go nuts about that. A lot of things I can go nuts about. It won't be that one.
I think I went a little too far with this, so I'm not going to continue this.
You're going to get the discussion. The people can pick at your house this time instead of mine, so thank you for that. I got accused of hating Italy the other night on the show.
I know, Danny's right. The Blue Jays actually should have won that series, perhaps, well, maybe looked a little better team. The Dodgers found a way to, win. I mean, it still makes me wince that play with Kiner Falefa getting thrown out at home plate just barely.
Yep.
You look back at plays and you wonder whether Kiner Falefa on third base should have had a little bigger lead. It's debatable. Just like I don't know why I watched a replay the other day of Scott Brocious in the 2001 World Series on the bunt to Rivera. Rivera, who's usually a humble guy and very nice, never throws anyone under the bus, he attacked Brocious for it. I was a little disappointed in Mariano for doing that. He's saying Brocious should have thrown to first base. He would have gotten a double play. I watched the replay, and I see Rivera's point. Had Brocious thrown immediately, I kind of feel they would have gotten the double play. But in live time, I didn't feel that way.
Listen, don't throw guys under the bus, 30 years later, please, 20 years later, whatever it is, 25 years. Getting to be a lot of years. Good grief. I just won a World Series. Let's pivot to the NFL. A lot of news this week with free agency obviously opening and some trades being made, some trades being reneged on. We'll start with Max Crosby and the Ravens and Raiders mess. As we know, he was traded for a couple of first-round draft picks, and he got a physical. They didn't like the way his knee, I believe, looked, and they sent him back. So I think the Ravens, I don't have a problem with this. You're able to give guys physicals and before trades final, and if trades can't be final until the new season starts, the new league season on March 11th. But this just typical Raiders. Are they trying to move bad product? Do you blame the Ravens? Do you blame the Raiders?
Let's get right to the point, Keith.
How do you come back to it? How do you come back?
You can analyze this all you want. Bottom line is, we can't prove it outwardly. You know, there's a bunch of lying going on, a covering up, whatever. The Ravens got cold feet. There's no way to get around it as far as I'm concerned. They made the deal, and then they realized they gave up the 14th overall pick in the draft, the number 1 next year. After they made the deal, people were talking about what a great deal it was for the Raiders, and they got cold feet.
It's obvious.
And what did they expect? Crosby was going to show up damaged. Every player coming off an injury like that is damaged. Then they get better. Look, Miami Dolphins, after Drew Brees hurt his shoulder as a member of the San Diego Chargers on the last game of the season, he was a free agent. They brought him in for physical, the Dolphins, and they flunked Brees on the physical and decided not to sign him. The New Orleans Saints signed him. The rest is history.
So
Max Crosby at some point was going to be good. He's going to be good. He's going to be his old self at some point. But right now he's not. At this moment he's damaged goods, but we all know that.
So hold on a second, because I don't think we got right to the point. Yes, the Ravens obviously got cold feet because they reneged on the trade. But the reason they reneged, is it okay that the Ravens reneged on this trade? And I say yes, because you found out you got goods that were damaged worse than what you thought. You knew you were getting damaged goods. And the rules say that you can do exactly what they did, because every player undergoes a physical after a trade is at least verbally agreed on, or whatever you want to call it. It couldn't be official to the 11th anyway. Did they do anything wrong? They didn't do anything wrong.
Legally, they are allowed to get away with it. Okay, so in that sense, no. They had the right to call the trade off based on the physical. But what did they expect during the physical? Did they expect to examine Max Crosby and tell him, "Oh, you look really good. He looks good. He's ready to go. Or he's a few weeks away." You're going to get a guy who is physically impaired because of the injury. So how can they not have expected that? If I'm going to blame anyone, it's the NFL. The NFL has got to change the way they do things before a deal becomes consummated, as far as before a deal starts, before negotiations can begin. If one team is interested in another player from another team, and that team wants to trade that player, is willing to trade them, they should allow any team to examine that player. After the team examines the player, then you could talk compensation at that point.
Listen, again, and Danny kind of reiterates the same thing. They did nothing outside the rules, the league rules.
Nothing outside the rules. But we both know they got cold feet on this deal.
Well, that's obvious.
That's the real reason they pulled out. They had a reason, an excuse to pull out of this deal. They were able to pull out of this deal. They changed their mind, the Ravens.
Yeah.
They changed their mind because they heard a lot of people, like I said, saying, "Oh, what a great deal for the Raiders. They got 2 number 1s." And the Ravens have a history of never trading their number 1 draft choice. And they're thinking, wow, number 14, we could get a good player. And we don't want to lose our number 1 next year either.
Listen, nobody's going to dispute the fact they got cold feet, heard things, saw things, and decided this wasn't worth the move. So, Danny,
I get it. We've all pulled out of deals at one time or another during our life. I mean, because we were allowed to pull out of the deal. It wasn't, but still, I mean, acknowledge we had to change the heart. That's all it was with the Ravens. They had to change the heart. I'm going to tell you this. If the Ravens, hypothetically, let me throw this at you, Keith, had given up a 4th and 5th round draft choice instead of 2 number ones, do you think they'd pull out of this deal for Crosby?
No, there'd be no reason to. They didn't give up anything of that.
They didn't. Well, the 4th and 5th have some value.
A little different than first, a lot different.
Let's say they gave up a 3rd and a 4th. I think they go through with the deal still. They take a chance.
Possibly, but if they didn't, then to me, I don't have a problem with them saying no after the fact. They have a window of opportunity to do that, and that's what the window's for. You have a chance.
Well, what makes it hard now for all concerned, Crosby's back with the Raiders for now at least. The Raiders made a flurry of free agent moves, and those have cap implications. What does this mean under the cap now, a Crosby salary that the Raiders thought they weren't going to have, and they're going to have to honor at the moment? And also, the Raiders thinking they're going to want 2 number ones for Crosby. Now, get out of here. No one's going to give them 2 number ones. For the Raiders to trade Crosby, they're going to have to give significant draft compensation. I mean, if I'm the Raiders and the Jets call me up, the Jets aren't going. Jets have 2 number ones. Obviously, they're not giving the number 2 overall. The Jets aren't going to give number 16 overall for Crosby. Even if it's 1 number 1 draft pick, 1 for 1, I don't quite do that if I'm the Jets. I don't quite do it. But if the Raiders want to settle for a little less, the Jets go 33rd and 44th in the 2nd round, maybe something could be worked out.
Yeah, but you bring up something that everybody's brought up in this. What about the Raiders' moves that they made based on this, money being cleared from their cap? Well, then they shouldn't have made those moves. This stupid.
But they had to make them. They couldn't wait on that.
They can if the rules get changed, because this window, if free agency can't happen to the 11th, stop letting guys sign on the 9th and 10th. Stop that.
But the players they signed, if the Raiders didn't aggressively go after them, chances are they would have signed with other teams.
I get it.
The Raiders could not wait.
I'm saying the rules of the NFL are ridiculous in the fact that we've got a rule that says you can't sign free agents to the 11th, but you could agree to terms with them on the 9th and the 10th. That's just stupid. Right? That window, that tampering, that legal tampering window is just ridiculous. Get rid of it.
It's got to change. If anyone's at fault here, you'd have to say it's the NFL number 1. NFL ahead of the Ravens. Ravens did what was within their rights, but there's also the element of what team's going to trust the Ravens going forward and dealing with them as well. That could be a little, in doubt.
Maybe players will. I mean, I guarantee you they had an agreement with Hendrickson before they decided to renege on this trade, by the way, as well. That's another piece of it.
I'm not sure that was the case.
I'll bet you they had talked to him and said, look, we're thinking about getting rid of the reneging on this trade for Crosby. What's it going to take to get you here? If you don't think that conversation happened, there's no way it didn't.
Or maybe.
I mean, they signed him the next day. So, come on. Some other moves are of great interest. So, let's talk about some of the quarterback moves and which one of these makes the most sense. Let me throw out the ones that I'm interested in. Maybe I'll miss something. You can throw it in there. Kyle Murray to Minnesota, Tua to Atlanta, Willis to Miami, Geno Smith to the Jets. Which one?
Ironically, of all the teams who are making a firm commitment to the quarterback and the quarterback to the team, a partnership, it's the Willis one is the only quarterback move between quarterback and team where they both want it to work out for the long haul, where they both think it could work out for the long haul. Because Miami, that Quinn Ewers there, Zach Wilson, those aren't their future quarterbacks. It's obvious now. And the Dolphins are making a commitment to Malik Willis. They're not giving him great money. $67.5 million for 3 years, $45 million guaranteed. It's good money. It's win-win. If Malik Willis shows he's a really good starting caliber quarterback, the money's going to be there in a couple of years. And they're taking a chance, the Dolphins, on Malik Willis. He doesn't have a big body of work, but there's potential. It might work out great for the Dolphins. It might not. We don't know. But it's a bold move. And it's the best move that Willis could make because he's getting an opportunity to be a starting quarterback in the NFL maybe for years to come. Let's see what he can do.
I don't know what other offers he had, though. I don't know whether there's.
We don't know. We don't know. Right. You had to kind of jump on it. But there are a few openings out there one way or another. He could have gone to Arizona, hypothetically, or whatever. It only takes one other team to make a team bite at something and get a guy. The other moves, the Tua move, it feels like a little bit of a Band-Aid. Maybe Tua goes to Atlanta, and he's great, and he's their quarterback for years to come. That's a possibility.
Very
Michael Penix in reserve. Penix claims he'll be ready to start the season, coming off the injury. Maybe, maybe not. Even if Penix is ready to start the season, Tua might be named the starter regardless. So I'm not optimistic on the Falcon quarterback Tua Penix situation. Something doesn't feel right there between the two of them. Miami with Malik Willis, at least they're on the right path. If it doesn't work out with Malik Willis, wow, you lose money, $45 million guaranteed. You can kind of live with that, in the long run, I think.
I think the Tua and Murray moves both are kind of like low risk. I mean, you take a chance this year and maybe they stay healthy, maybe they mature.
Murray move.
No money. Cost you no money.
Murray move is the biggest game change in this way with the Vikings. Murray is going to be a free agent, Kyler Murray, at the end of the season.
Right.
Kyler Murray's a good quarterback. When he's healthy, when he's focused, he's a good quarterback. I think, Kyler Murray supposedly hasn't been named the starter, even though we know he's going to be starting opening day, unless he comes to training camp and is just really bad. Because the Vikings are paying him the minimum. The Arizona Cardinals are basically paying his whole salary. So the Vikings have very little to lose. If Kyler Murray, because he'll be a free agent at the end of the season, he could have a great year, and the Vikings are either going to lose him or they're going to have to pay him top quarterback money on a multi-year deal going forward. It's a chance. But I think Kyler Murray could have the greatest impact on his team for all the free agent signings. Geno Smith, forget about it. He's not going to be the quarterback beyond one season. I doubt if he's even going to be the quarterback for the whole season. If I have to be, succinct about it.
Because of play or injury? Because of his play?
Because of his play, the way the team's set up. Geno is a little bit on the back end of his career, and
he's a better player than
I don't want Geno Smith is my quarterback going forward beyond this year, regardless.
I don't think Jets do either. Jets needed a quarterback, but they don't want to win a bunch of games next year either. So
it could have been a brilliant move by the Jets. Maybe Geno means less wins a couple, and the quarterback market's really going to be heavy. You have to be careful if you're a team like the Jets or any other team that needs a quarterback. If you have a chance to get one of these elite college quarterbacks coming out next year, there got to be about 4 of them, right, Keith?
Right now, I mean, it could be 6.
Right now, right, exactly. You got to think of that. You know how much I love Trinidad Chambliss. And if you're going to not be able to if you can't get him because you won a couple extra games or whatever, it's tough. You want to win now, too, if you're a team like the Jets. You don't want to lose games either. So it's kind of like a tough it's a tough go. They made a bunch of moves on their defense. You also have we're talking about Max Crosby before. And one of the things we didn't mention, you got to think beyond one season. These NFL teams can't look beyond one season. you say, oh, he won't be with us at the beginning of the year, so we got to move on from him. But there's next year after that.
Yeah, but teams are looking at, most teams are looking with tunnel vision. They're looking just at the season ahead of them, and you know that, most of them. Teams like the Titans aren't, maybe, right? But everybody, 3/4 of the league is looking at what I can do next year, not what I'm going to do past that. We'll worry about past that later on. That's what they do.
A couple of NFL notes. I want to mention the second of the two. If we don't get to it, then, it would have been shame on us, but we are going to get to the first NFL note. Bryce Huff announced his retirement. Bryce Huff had a few good years with the Jets under Robert Saleh when Saleh was the head coach. He went to the Eagles the year they won the Super Bowl. He was terrible there. They didn't even suit him up for the Super Bowl. Then he went to the 49ers to join Robert Saleh after Saleh got fired from the Jets and was defensive coordinator of the Niners. And he had a rebirth under Saleh. Kudos to Saleh for bringing his player back. And now Huff, with 1 year left on his contract, being on the 49ers, announced his retirement, wants to do other things. Whatever his reasons are, good luck to him. He had a good little career for the 5 years or so on balance.
He did.
But the big one, a couple of days ago, Matt Snell passed away.
Yep, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, Matt Snell, Jet icon, but it's a shame the relationship with Snell and the New York Jets. Super Bowl III, Matt Snell wasn't named MVP, but was the most valuable player that game for the Jets, more so than Joe Namath.
100%.
Joe Namath didn't throw a touchdown pass that game. Matt Snell scored the only Jet touchdown on a handoff. The Jets controlled the game on the ground with Matt Snell, 30 carries, 121 yards, 4 catches, 40 yards, played some special teams, blocked. Matt Snell was the best player on the field, yet he's not given the recognition. I haven't seen Joe Namath say much about it. I heard Namath say once, well, I was given the credit, but Matt Snell did the work. I only heard him say it once. I'd like to hear Namath say it more. That Matt Snell should have gotten the MVP. I know Namath had all the charisma, Keith. We're guaranteeing the victory. Joe was the leader. I get all that. The leadership of Joe Namath meant a tremendous amount. I understand.
Yeah.
But the thing with Matt Snell, he had a falling out with the Jets because according to Snell, Jets offered him a job and they reneged on it. I don't know the inside story, but I have to believe what Matt Snell said because the Jets could have made it right at some other point. Reached out to him, money talks, we're giving you a job in this organization for X amount. We'd like you to come back. Apparently, they didn't do it. Snell's feelings towards the Jets were so bad. As the years went by, when they put him in the Ring of Honor along with his running mate, Emerson Boozer. Boozer was the halfback, Snell was the fullback. Snell didn't attend his own ceremony to get in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
He said, let Emerson enjoy the day. I want nothing to do with the Jets. I'm not coming back. He didn't even show up for his Ring of Honor thing. And I'm not saying I blame him. If he didn't want to show up, that's the way he felt. And if he felt the Jets truly wronged them, I don't blame him for not showing up. We've all had jobs. A lot of us have had jobs where bosses we thought were such lowlifes to us. If they wanted to honor us with a party or something, we wouldn't come back, chances are.
Nobody's giving me a party anyway. What are you going to do? Wasn't Snell, wasn't he a former Colt before that Super Bowl?
No. You're thinking of Johnny Sample, their cornerback.
All right. Yeah,
he intercepted the pass in that game. The great Johnny Sample. Very brash, the ultimate trash talker. Johnny Sample would hit guys extra hard at the end of the play to intimidate them. He'd take cheap shots. He used to do it with Frank Gifford. Gifford was pure in the way he played the game with sportsmanship. And Johnny Sample used to say, you're too pretty to play this game, Frank. You should only be doing your Hollywood movies. And Gifford used to get furious. But Sample's thing was intimidation.
Yeah.
The guy lost his cool and helped Johnny Sample a great deal. Sample said the one guy he couldn't intimidate was Fred Biletnikoff. As hard as he hit Biletnikoff would just smile, shake it off, and Biletnikoff was actually getting in Sample's head.
Great. But
I'll tell you what haunts me. You ever see one of these dreams where your feet are like in quicksand or something like that? I'm in Atlantic City. I'm going up an escalator. Going down is Johnny Sample. I see him, and I'm like, and I freeze too much to yell to him to wait for me to run back down. Oh, man. Another missed opportunity I'm telling you about.
You've had a lot of missed opportunities in life, Jack. It's, you know.
Well, that was a missed opportunity. I kind of froze. I should have yelled something. Maybe he would have waited on. He probably would have waited at the bottom. Johnny Sample later became a tennis judge, a line judge for big matches.
Well, that's an interesting story for sure. Anyway, our condolences go to Matt Snell's family and friends. Great.
I think it was 84, Matt Snell. Great chef.
Underrated player.
Most underrated performance in Super Bowl history. One of the great performances in Super Bowl history, turned in by Matt Snell.
100%. Before we move from the NFL, any of these other, so one of the most impactful free agency move, there's a lot of them. Walker to KC.
Well, I'm gonna save that as a debate question for the show tomorrow. So I'm not going to give my answer. I could talk about individual moves made, a lot of them. It doesn't mean it's the most impactful. Look, your New England Patriots, they got a couple of offensive linemen, notably Elijah Vera Tucker, one of the best in the NFL. If he's healthy, he got injured in training camp last year, missed the whole season. And if he's healthy for the year, I mean, he's going to fortify the offensive line in New England.
If he's high risk, high reward here in my mind. I mean, there's a lot of.
You want to Vera Tucker? It seemed like he was going to the Giants. I heard it was virtually a done deal, and then you turn around and he's with New England. It's as if they scooped in at the last moment. Maybe he just felt he wants to win the Patriots in the Super Bowl next year. At the very least, the Patriots are probably going to contend, to go to the Super Bowl. And he probably see, they'll be better than the Giants in all probability next season.
He'll move into the starting lineup on his team because they're going to have to move Ellis, who they drafted last year at guard and played most of guard. He's a center. They trade Bradbury, their center, to Chicago, so they have holes on this offensive line, and he'll move right in. Probably
Will Campbell's got to get rehabilitated.
Yeah, he'll be fine. As long as his mind isn't messed up, I think he'll be fine. Physically, he's a good player.
I never heard of a case, Keith, when offensive lineman doesn't have it anymore because it's mental. I don't get that. I get it. A baseball pitcher can't find the strike zone, an infielder, his throws are wide. I get that to an extent, but I don't get it for an offensive lineman. He's not blocking as well because he has a mental block.
You still have to have confidence to play whatever position you're playing in sports. So, yes, there can be a mental part to it, to any position.
I suppose.
So, anyway, a lot of good moves. And they'll be talked about, ad nauseum probably the next few weeks. Let's talk about Bam Adebayo for a second. Scores 83 points, second most now in NBA history. He passes Kobe's 81. I've never seen so much angst over second place in my life. I don't have a problem with why is Bam Adebayo got to defend his 83 points? I know there was a lot of fouls in the game, but when you can't stop a guy from scoring, you're going to follow him late in the game. And that's what happened. I don't think there was anything nefarious going on here. And he shouldn't be having to defend this, or his coach shouldn't have to defend this. And they both said we're not going to because the performance speaks for itself.
Well, reportedly, when Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in the game, he had 69 points after 3 periods. And the players on his team kept feeding him the ball. Now, for anyone to score the amount Adebayo scored, it's got to be a team effort. It's got to be a team effort. They got to pass him the ball. Hypothetically, when Michael Jordan was in his prime, if he's playing a terrible team and the whole Chicago Bull team said, Michael, let's go for 100. We're going to keep feeding you the ball. All you're going to do is score, 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 score. He's going to get 75 that game, maybe make a run at 100. The thing about Adebayo that was interesting, Keith, is he shot less than 50%. Could you imagine Adebayo had a hot hand shooting the ball, a truly hot hand, didn't just take a lot of shots? He may have gotten to the 100.
He might have. He might have.
I mean, he needed 8 more shots to get to 99. And once you get to 99, you'll find a way to get the extra point.
Well, there's still debate whether Wilt got to 100.
A debate about what?
There's still debate about whether Wilt actually got to 100 because there's no video of this. There's only the box score to go by. And there's been debate over the years whether he actually got to 100.
Would they have given him that cardboard thing to hold saying 100? And they stopped the game. But they stopped the game when he got to 100, meaning everyone knew he got it, and they ran onto the court.
You can't say that in the early 60s that we were as sure of what we have down on paper as after 3 hours as we would today. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he didn't get it. I'm just saying there's been debate through the years whether he actually.
Well, I'm so old. I saw Wilt actually play at Madison Square Garden. And I'm so old, I saw the Philadelphia Sixers play the Detroit Pistons in Madison Square Garden. NBA would have double headers then, believe it or not.
I want to know what you drink in the morning, by the way, to get yourself so hyped up for the shows.
Yeah, hey, I'm enjoying talking sports, Don. I mean, it's
6-pack of Red Bull, Donna.
No Red Bull.
Jack goes past. Jack comes right off the ceiling right after the show and takes a nap till about 2:00. So
yeah, I mean, I'm going to Costco right after the show.
Anyway, I'm going to say congratulations to Bam Adebayo. Great performance, and I didn't think he woke up in the morning thinking he was going to score 83 points that day.
But what my point is this: he shot 20 for 43 from the field, and let's say he shot 29 for 43. He gets the 100 points, meaning it's very doable. I shouldn't say very doable.
Oh.
Guys can get to 100 if they have a hot hand and get off to a great start. But the only way it happens if their teammates all buy in,
Anytime.
And it's a team effort to get them there.
It would have been the same with Wilt, as you said. It would have been the same with Kobe. It would have been the same with anybody who scored, let's say, over 70 points or even 60 points. That everybody's got to be involved in that at the end. And by the way, Kobe shot 60%, I believe, in his 81 points. So if he shoots 60%, he's probably way over 100.
Yeah.
Right?
Kobe actually played a better game.
Yes.
If you want to look at it that way, yeah.
I would agree. But still, that's not short.
Adebayo, by the way, last night got 21 points in the Heat game, a follow-up.
Definitely. By the way, real quick, I want to talk a little bit of college basketball before we go. Championship week we're in the middle of it. All the big league. We've got a bunch of automatic qualifiers, which we won't jump into. Obviously, we'll save that for the college basketball show. But the big conferences are in the middle of their tournaments. Duke survives a scare yesterday against Florida State without Caleb Foster. Caleb Foster is out indefinitely. For the foreseeable future. I think he's out for the year. And this is a big loss. We talk about Boozer, but Caleb Foster is a really good point guard. And in the NCAA tournament, you need really good guard play to be able to advance far. And this is going to hurt Duke. And I think you saw it yesterday against an okay Florida State team. I think you saw that they're going to be beatable for the rest of this tournament and in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think with Duke, I learned my lesson a little last year when Cooper Flagg missed a big shot where they could have won the game. And I thought, is he really going to be a great NBA player? Great NBA players make those shots, okay? Well, they make them in college the way Michael Jordan did. But yesterday, Boozer has a shot blocked at the end of the game. And Florida has a chance to win it because of that, and their shot rims off at the end of the game. Otherwise, Florida would have beaten Duke. Duke was behind most of the game. They're behind 8 points, and then all of a sudden, in the snap of a finger, they're up 8, and you think this thing is over. Duke is just going to win decisively, but then Florida edges their way back. Really good game yesterday.
It was a really good game. Another big game yesterday, and I think what would have been such a great story going into the NCAA tournament. Miami of Ohio was 31-0 going into this game against UMass, who had not had a really good season. Frank Martin, a really good coach, is coaching at UMass, which I kind of lost track of. But they did not play well. They get beat. They lose their first time in conference play, first time for the year, 31-1 now. They're probably still going to get in the NCAA tournament, but this is not nearly the story it would have been if they went in there at 34-0. And even at 34-0, they were probably going to get a 10 seed. No respect for this team. They're probably going to get beat in the first round. I didn't like what I saw of this team yesterday. They don't play any defense, and their offense was held to 70 points by UMass yesterday. I think it would have been a great story. And it's one that the NCAA is going to miss out on now.
Well, let's talk Miami not getting in the tournament.
They're probably off the bubble. There is still talk Auburn could get in over them. But do I need to see a team that was 5 games under 500 in their conference against a team who lost 1 game all year? Should that be the litmus, because Auburn's got a name and we play in the SEC, but not well?
Well, Auburn has one of their alumni, Charles Barkley, who's going to, be broadcasting their game supposedly going forward. So does that add a little profile? You wonder the selection committee, how much their picks are made on profile. Like you're insinuating that Auburn has a little more profile than Miami. Is that really the case, though?
Because the SEC is I get the arguments, right? That the SEC is much better and much deeper than the MAC. I get that. Everybody knows that. But Miami of Ohio is not getting a chance to play teams outside of their conference the way the power conferences do. And we shouldn't. This tournament's got 68 teams. We can't find a place for a team that went 31-1. But lost in their conference tournament, it's nuts.
You kind of wonder what that school is playing for. If they're going to be told, well, if you go 31-1, you might not be in the NCAA tournament. It might not be good enough. I mean, it's so crazy. Unfair.
It's very unfair. And if you're going to, and now you want to expand the tournament for what? So I can get the 12th place team in the SEC team in? I mean, you're already getting the 7th and 8th and 9th place teams in these leagues.
Yeah, but then again, I don't want to necessarily criticize the selection committee, because we've been down this road before in football, and at least I thought Notre Dame would be given entry into the college playoffs because they're Notre Dame. They're famous for ratings, and they weren't last year.
Right.
So, maybe we shouldn't question the integrity of the committee. I mean, everyone knew beforehand with Miami what the situation was. They didn't have a tough schedule. They didn't have a lot to point to outside of their record itself.
I could go back and look at other teams that had gone into the postseason undefeated and say the same thing about Wichita State back in 2015. I could go back to Bird's Indiana State team. They had a great player, maybe the best player in the country, but they didn't play they played one good team all year. And that was the very first game of the season. They get a number 1 seed. So,
well, basketball is so popular in Indiana. I mean, that might mean something as opposed to if you compare it to Wichita.
It's going to be a very interesting selection Sunday, because all these teams that are on the bubble that I've been talking about, the Auburns, the Texases, they're all playing their way off the bubble. You got to find 68 teams, and they're really playing bad. Everybody on the bubble has played horrible this week. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. That's all the time we got for today, though, Jack. Great show. Watch a debate show with Jack tomorrow? He doesn't like to give us any.
No, that's why one of the things we're going to talk about free agency, one of the questions.
Oh, cool.
But I got to get it out to the guys.
Good stuff, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join Jack tomorrow and James and Brian and on the debate show. And I'll see you Sunday morning with the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the WBC and enjoy the championship week in college basketball. See you later.